Hey fam, I hope you guys are doing well, eh? I'd like to share something with you. Um, One thing I've experienced over the years is when I've had a romantic relationship with a woman and it didn't go well between us, we couldn't even maintain friendship, which had made me feel pretty sad in my heart a lot of the time. Made me feel like a failure, but I know it's not the case. I know a lot of people have their own stuff that they deal with, and a lot of people don't have the same awareness, and that doesn't make them better or worse. They're just at different levels of consciousness, and that's okay. I always try to look at things from a higher perspective, from a bird's eye view of consciousness, of looking beyond the just the superficial physical experience, the shared history and what have you. And it was a beautiful thing because I thought I had that eventually with a woman that I had fallen in love with back in 2019. And we had quite a psychic connection, quite a deep bond. She could pick up my energies and my emotions thousands of miles away, which blew me away. It was so accurate. Like you hear about these kinds of stuff, these kinds of things, when people talk about the twin flame phenomena and all that stuff. And that's something I don't really believe in anymore. To each their own, you know. I'm not knocking it, but I don't subscribe to that stuff anymore. These labels and these expectations and trying to box experiences in. Now I'm just open to whatever, the flow. So anyway, long story short, 2019 I fell in love with this girl, this woman, and we had a falling out due to misunderstandings, as it goes, with a lot of the case, with a lot of the times with these kinds of things. And it was pretty heartbreaking, it was sad. And it affected me quite deeply at the time. My uncle just died. Before that, just before our breakup, my uncle had died, and I was kind of traumatized because he died from cancer, and it was a very long and grueling death. I'd wake up in the mornings hearing him scream, and it's just something that had impacted me on a cellular level, on a deep level. But anyway, like, that breakup compounded things, and I went into a bit of a slump, but it also pushed me to be more stronger than I was at the time as well, and I doubled down on my inner work and the subconscious clearing and the release technique and what have you. So anyway, fast forward around 2 years later, and me and this woman ended up reaching out to each other again, and we had reconciliation, and it was beautiful, it was amazing. I thought I've never had this before, to actually have a friendship with a girl that I had a falling out with. Like, it actually happened, and I was happy. Like, I felt this is a blessing. And she was going through some health issues at the time, and I was there for her, and I encouraged her, and I was supportive of her, and she really appreciated that. She had found someone else at the time, and I was happy for her. It was purely platonic. And fast forward a year later, like today, and I messaged her in Messenger asking her how she was doing, just checking up on her, telling her, hey, I remember you said a year ago, from today, you were going to go for another checkup to see how your health is doing. And I remembered that, and because I care about this person, and I messaged her and I asked her how she's doing and hoping she's well, and she left me on red, guys. She basically ignored me and hasn't said a thing the whole day, since last night actually. And it kind of gutted me at first, because I realized I had done nothing wrong. I had simply reached out to her, and she had just completely ignored me. And my heart broke again, not as deeply as before, but there was hurt there for sure. Like, because it felt like I was back to square one, like feeling like a failure with a woman that I've had failures with regards to relationships. And I thought, wow, I can actually have a friendship with a person and look past all the hurt that had happened between us, all the so-called wrongdoings that she had done to me and I had done to her unintentionally, and I'm sure unintentionally from her side too. Yeah, I mean, these things happen sometimes out of traumas, and we don't mean to hurt the other, But it was such a beautiful thing to find inner standing and mutual compassion for each other. And now today, totally stonewalled me, and I was just met with what I'm used to time and time again from women, utter and complete coldness. And you know what? At first I'd let it get to me. I was kind of battling this morning with my emotions. I wasn't trying to stuff them down or ignore them. I just allowed them to come up. I wasn't attaching with them. I wasn't identifying with them, but I allowed them to come up and I allowed them to pass through. And I realized something. I realized something so fucking powerful, guys. No matter what the circumstances are in the world and in your life and in the external, what we perceive as the external, you are in charge of how you feel. You are in charge of your own inner security, your inner control, and your inner safety. You are in control of your own life. You are in control of your own happiness, your own peace of mind, your own mental health, your own physical health, your own spiritual well-being. And I'm taking it in my hands. And I've been on semen retention for a few weeks now, and it's a new, well, not new, I've been practicing it on and off, but now I feel this is the long term, this is the long haul, this is where the rubber meets the road, and I'm finally going to push beyond what I've done before and truly unlock this spiritual divine birthright that each man has inside of him when he retains his life force, when he retains his sexuality, his sexual energy, transmutes it and doesn't fritter it away, bringing in more negative experiences to him. I've always had fantastic experiences and results in all arenas when I retain. And the minute I don't retain, everything goes to shit. Everything just gets fucked up. You don't have to believe me. If you're a guy, you can test this out for yourself. Well, I wouldn't recommend going and releasing, but if you look back at the times where you were retaining, or when you were a child, like something simple, when you remember when you were a kid, and you didn't even know what masturbation was, you didn't even know what sex was, you didn't even know what wet dreams were, right? And you had this purity about you, you had this innocence about you, you had this like connectedness to life, to God, to source, to consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And it stuck with you. And then puberty hit and all these hormonal changes happened, chaos, right? And then you discovered certain things. The internet was blooming, at least for me, back in the late 90s, right? And yeah, one thing led to another, and I started losing my innocence, my purity, due to losing the life force. And I had no idea. I was just a child, you know, like you were just a kid. This society doesn't tell you this stuff. They don't teach this shit in schools. They don't tell you this stuff in university or college. They don't. Your parents don't tell you this. If they did, then you're a very lucky person. Blessed. Your peers don't tell you this. Your friends don't tell you this shit. Your teachers don't tell you this shit. So when you discover this for yourself, you realize that this is actually Willy Wonka's golden ticket to the chocolate factory. But you're not actually going to a chocolate factory. You're going to an abundance factory. And it's never ending. It seriously and truly is. Like, one thing I've noticed is that even my facial structure is changing. My eyes are glistening. You know, it's not about vanity or superficiality or anything like that. It's just a pure observational awareness of the outer manifesting as a reflection of the inner state, of keeping this pure sexual energy that starts to radiate, literally radiate like a lighthouse from the inside out. If you're a guy, and women can retain their sexual energy too, don't get me wrong. For guys, because we have the seminal fluid, it really has different kind of effects, I feel, on the testosterone, obviously, of course, as well. And it's really amazing. So, like, long story short, I don't want to keep this too long. It's been almost going 10 minutes now. To wrap things up, I realized that things that used to hurt me for longer periods and things that used to really make me feel sad, like this person just being cold with me, after I thought we had a blessing of renewed reconciliatory platonic friendship, that was kind of a mouthful. Even after all that, I bounced right back quicker than I did when I was not retaining. And I realized I feel fucking great. And I realize how worthy I am of divine love. And I don't have to seek it from anyone else. I don't have to have it with anyone else, although there's nothing wrong with that. It's a bonus, a cherry on the top, right? But I realize that the whole fucking cake is here, and for me to eat it as well when I retain my energy. And I don't say this from arrogance, I don't say this from pride, I say this from self-observation. I say this from neutral observational awareness. I'm saying this from neutrality, not attached to outcome, but attached to the truth of what I feel right now, resonating within the deepest core of my being and my heart. And I want to gift this to every single one of you, especially if you're a man, if you're a guy, you're a brother. If you're a brother, realize, my brother, that you have what it takes within you. And it's free and it's effortless. All you got to do is cultivate your willpower, is cultivate your discipline, transmute this stuff. You know, some days it gets a lot, the energy, the horniness, what have you, the urges, and just channel that into things like weightlifting, channel it into things like martial arts, channel it into creativity, channel it into what makes you happy, what makes you feel alive, what's new to you, what you're experimenting with. Because life is to be played in. It's a playground of consciousness. And there's nothing to be afraid of, and there's nothing to be sad about. Sure, we have these feelings, but don't let them dictate your life to you. Don't! You can if you want to, but I suggest that if you want to get out of your suffering, if you want to get out of your misery, realize what you have inside of you. You have God's golden ticket to paradise. Source, beingness, consciousness, pure awareness within you. You don't have to be a Dalai Lama going to the top of the Tibetan mountains going, Mom, you know. You don't have to engage in 1,000 spiritual practices and only after a certain amount of time and protocols, only then can you be such and such an ABC. No, be it now. Now. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And have a great one. I'm signing out. And remember that this is something that you can tap in at any time, provided that you stick with it. I suggest, if this is new to you, give it 2 weeks minimum to feel a spike in your testosterone and to start to seeing physical changes. But if you really want to see and get a feel for what's really possible, the potentiality and capacity of this, give it 2 to 3 months and you'll really see some amazing changes. And I want to take it to 90 days and beyond. The whole summer I'm going to be retaining. The whole summer. That's my minimum target, but the ideal target is for as long as I can. And to, if I have sexual activity, it will be tantric, and it'll be a cultivating of even more energy, not only just for myself, but for my partner, for the woman as well. Yeah, that's about it, guys. Realize that your happiness is in your hands. I'm going to keep it short and sweet and log out now, and have a great one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.